My guest at this time is a former WWE referee. He's most recently been seen in the AEW ring, but he can be found every other Monday over on adfreeshows.com as part of the Mailbag Mondays. And also this Saturday, he's going to be doing a live watch along over at adfreeshows.com with the Rock Hogan match. It's Mike Chioda. Mike, thank you very much for taking the time to chat with me today.
Yeah, no problem, Nick. Thanks for having me today. I appreciate it. Yeah, looking forward to this watch along with Rock and Hogan this Saturday. It's gonna
Yeah.
be really interesting, really interesting. So it's the first time this has ever been done, of course. So, and just to get the perspective and of the third man in the ring with the black and white stripes, it's going to be shown and told on Saturday morning. So looking forward to it.
I don't want you to give it away because you're going to do the watch along, but like, Mike, did you expect it to be what it was? I mean, did that take you off guard? How was it?
Yeah, it took us way off guard. It took everybody off guard, So it was one of the most in my career at that time, almost 20 years ago, and being in the business that long for 15 years at that point. It was phenomenal to see, where Hogan in the 80s and in the early 80s when I started in this business, to where he got the company into what he did as an entertainer and a professional wrestling business in the industry. He was an icon throughout so many years of the business and still is one of the icons in the history of the business today. Sure. And then when Rock came up and he was another icon, it was just icon against icon, was something that it was great to be a part of. It was unbelievable. It was one of the most memorable matches in my history, in my career.
Oh my God. What was it like backstage before that match? Like, did they put a lot of work into putting it together? Or was it kind of like, we're just going to figure it out there? Like, what's it like putting that together with those two?
Well, you had two old school wrestlers at the time,
Sure.
Hogan being from where he came from, he's just being old school. And then you had third generation, I think Rock was second, third generation. So, I mean, he had two old school, two icons. And it was kind of like, a lot to be told on Saturday what was going on,
Right.
So backstage, where that match was supposed to be, probably at some point in the night during WrestleMania.
Okay.
We'll get all that on Saturday, but yeah, it was just something I'll never forget, so it was great to be a part of it. I mean, that was one match that took place, and it was just unfortunately I was a referee for that match. So.
You said unfortunately. Come on, you should say fortunately. You got to be.
Fortunately, at that time, being in the business 15 plus years at the time, maybe, it's just I was glad to be a part of it. I was kind of picked for that match. So with from the talent and all the way coming from the top guys in the business, as far as Vince and the writers and everything, thought I should be there. So It was unfortunately great to get picked for that match, and it's never been done again before that match. So
yeah, man. Okay. Well, see, this is a good tease, right? Now, every Saturday, Mike, we've already taken them. They're on the hook here. We're going to shove to Saturday, but let's talk about Mondays and you in general here. So, like, how did you wind up as part of Conrad Thompson's cavalcade of talent over at adfreeshows.com?
Yeah, Conrad Thompson got a hold of me, and then we touched base. We had a little bit of a conversation and just thought this would be a fantastic thing with 35 years of experience and telling my stories, which the referees basically don't tell their stories and really aren't able to tell their stories and really don't even have a character anymore in the business. But it's great that Conrad reached out to me, and I think things are going phenomenal, and love to continue everything every week, every couple of weeks at, ad free shows. And them guys are great, putting me on the charts. I mean, AEW's keeping me alive a little bit, and
Sure.
ad free shows is definitely keep me alive, and appreciate that.
Well, one of the things I actually wanted to kind of pick your brain about was, you mentioned how the referees aren't really allowed to have characters anymore. Like, I didn't know if you wanted to talk a little bit about just kind of how the role of the referee evolved for you in WWE in 35 years. Like, what are some of the things you miss or are happy have faded away from when you started out with the company?
Well, when we started out the company, I mean, it was great that I got Chief Jay Strombo made me a referee. And I always looked up to Joey Morello, which was one of my great friends when he was living back in the day. We grew up together, Gorilla Monsoon's son.
Yeah.
So in getting into the referee business, and like Gorilla Monsoon said to me, look, he goes, I'm going to tell you what I tell my son. And he said, the longevity in his business is refereeing, because I wanted to be a wrestler. Oh, I wanted to take snap bumps and, snap suplexes and this in the ring. And I was working out with the boys in the ring in the afternoons when I was setting up the ring, and, you'd be at the arena all day. And Gorilla kept pulling me aside. He goes, "What are you doing taking bumps like that for?" I said, "I like to learn." He goes, "Well, if you're going to be a referee, you can bump certain ways, but you want to be one of the boys or you want to be a referee?" And I said, "Well, I want to be a referee." He goes, "Referees, the longevity in this business, and which I've had a great career for 30 plus years refereeing. So
Yeah.
they've gone through a lot where they don't take care of the referees a lot anymore, in the business over the years, in the last so many years, where they need to protect the referees as much as possible, I think, as far as the rules, and stop changing the rules, because they change the rules on and off when it's convenient for them.
You talking? Okay, so you're saying, when you, just to clarify for everybody out there, like when you say they need to protect the referees more, you mean that the referees don't have as much power in the ring as you feel like maybe they used to have? Is that what you're?
True, that's correct. Yeah, and it's a lot of talent back in the day that used to. I mean, there are some talent. There are talent that worries about where the referee is placed and how he's working around the referee, says, and bury the referee. But sometimes, even from the top, from the companies, it just comes from, if you have a no disqualification match, why is a guy able to get to the rope and break the count on the rope, or a hardcore match, or a no disqualification or anything matches, no holds bar. There's always questions, and they'll do things in a steel cage match where a guy will be in a hold, he gets to the ropes and you break the count. You need to stick to the gun. There is no rule book for refereeing in the professional wrestling business.
I think WWE wrote one like a couple years ago, actually. I don't know.
I was actually trying to write. I was writing one a while back, and it got scratched because two of the guys that were working with me in the office had gotten released.
Oh,
We were 6 months into the situation, and that just went right down the tubes. This is when Johnny Laurinaitis is actually still in head of talent relations.
okay, I gotcha. Okay, and so, like, with the referees and stuff in WWE, you talk about the evolution. So, like, when new refs come in and stuff, like, is there a program kind of like NXT where refs gets trained? Like, how do referees get acclimated and taught the ropes and how to be a WWE referee?
Yeah, trained, but a lot of wrestlers are training wrestlers there too, and they're training them on their entrances, on their workmanship, on their selling, on taking bumps, on no, they're training wrestlers, training them. They have no. If the referee's down there, how much experience does that referee have? If he's down there training referees that come in, has he been a referee for 20 years, 15, 20 years? And I always think that you can grasp, either sometimes when you're a worker, you can actually, a professional wrestler, you can come in this business. I've only seen that very few times, and be an unbelievable talent in a couple years. Sometimes it takes a wrestler quite a few years, an entertainer, to really learn the business. And that's what I feel about refereeing.
Yeah.
So it sometimes takes you, there may be some referees that come in and grasp it right away, but there's going to be the majority that are going to need experience throughout how to really be a professional referee.
Do you have any new referees that you really like? Was there anybody you worked with that you're like, this is somebody that I think is going to carry the mantle of what we do well? Anybody come?
Yeah, I mean, Drake Warts, he's one of the top guys that are coming up. But he's been around for a minute.
Right.
He's pretty much in NXT. He works at Raw or works on SmackDown, wherever they put him. I love John Cone. John Cone's an unbelievable referee, and I think he's gonna he should be one of the top referees in the business later on down the future. Charles Robinson, love, but as far as young guys that need to step up and move up, is going to be like guys like John Cone, Danny Danilo, and a few other young kids there.
Sure. Well, to take a step back, one of the things I wanted to ask you about, Mike, you were with the company 35 years, right? You were
That's
the
correct,
longest tenured referee in the company.
That's correct.
When you were released back in April.
Right.
How did this start for you? Like, when did you first get introduced to WWE, and how did you get hired by the company?
Oh, I got actually, I grew up with Gorilla Monsoon's family in Willingboro, New Jersey.
Okay.
And Joey and I knew each other from just growing up in Willingboro, from baseball and so forth. And we grew up and became good friends. And then I actually started doing ring crew when I was 15, 16 years old. I would do ring crews because, like, Vince McMahon Sr., it was basically Gorilla Monsoon owned a territory in South Jersey, Philadelphia Spectrum, Salisbury, Maryland, all the way up to all the shorelines, and like a little bit upstate New York and Pennsylvania areas.
Sure.
So Gorilla Monsoon had that. He had a ring, which we worked on the ring crews in the summertime. We were off from school, sometimes on the weekends if there were local shots. If Philly was on a Friday and this was on a Saturday, or so forth. I would do the weekends, and I would get paid $50 for robes, $50 for ring crew, 50 for timekeeping, 50 for playing music. So I'd make 200 there, and then I'd sell programs, at 10 cents a dollar. So I'd sell 3,000 programs. I was making $500 a night. So
Wow.
it got hooked. Just getting into business and hustling, making money, got hooked on just the weekends. And then I was a machinist for a while in school. And then I went back to wrestling when I was 18. And I went back to wrestling and asked Gorilla for a full-time spot. And we had tryouts again. Terry Garvin and everything was the head of talent relations back then.
Okay.
So, you had a tryout period for a year, and then we went on the books. And that's how it all started. Started back in the mid-'80s.
Wow.
The early 80s.
So what was your first introduction to Vince McMahon Jr.? What was your first impressions of this guy when you first got to meet him?
Total businessman, total businessman. Yep.
Do you recall where and when you were when you first met Vince, or no?
That was in 1985, 86, 85. I met Vince at TV's.
Okay.
And we were just doing like ring crew work and backstage work and all that stuff. And we do, local crew stuff. And I didn't become a referee till a couple years later, and then debuted in 89. So, and meeting Vince was, was phenomenal. He was a businessman and very good family man and a businessman.
Well, everybody loves a good Vince story, Mike. I don't know. When you think about Vince McMahon, you think of Fun Life on the Road? Is there like one story that comes to mind when you think about Vince, or maybe?
Yeah, there's a lot of stories. There's a lot of stories, but there's a good story. There's a lot of good stories about Vince, but maybe I'll tell them another day.
Oh, come on! You're not going to draw. We all got to go over to the ad free. We got to the mailbag thing. Is that what we got to do here?
Well, it was one night all right, I'll give you one night.
Okay, great. That's all I want.
It was one night. We were in Richfield, Ohio, had the ring crew truck, the WWF truck, Tony Chimmel and I. Richfield, Ohio is where we did, on Thanksgiving Day, we did the Survivor Series for many years. So we'd be out in Richfield all week. And I remember the Wednesday night before the show, we were at the Holiday Inn and everybody's drinking, having fun. And he says, Mike, he says, you got the keys to the goddamn ring truck? I said, yes, sir, I do. He goes, God damn it, give it to me. I said, the keys to the ring truck, Vince? He goes, the keys to my ring truck. And I went, oh, okay, no problem. You got it, sir. So opened my fanny pack. So I used to have a fanny pack back then.
Sure.
A little waist pack in the 80s.
Yeah.
Then got the keys to the truck, said, here you go, sir. And I remember Pat Patterson, God bless his soul. Miss him very much as well.
Yeah.
And everybody was sitting at the bar and laughing, drinking. He takes the keys and he starts going out. He goes, I'm driving this goddamn truck. Let's see how my ring. He goes, you like this truck? I said, yes, sir. So I catch Tony Chimmel in the corner and said, Chimmel, hey, Vince wants to drive our ring truck. He's like, what? He's like, get out of here. He's like, he can't drive the ring truck. I'm like, you tell him that. You tell the boss that. So we were in a tough situation. He goes, guys, hop in. We're taking his truck for a spin. Ice everywhere, snow everywhere. It wasn't snowing at the time, but it snowed previous. Okay. Cold as all get out in Ohio. Okay. He's got the truck on one side almost. So he's just taking turns. And we're in the truck like, oh my God, he's going to kill us. And it was like, and he drove the truck around the parking lot like 2 or 3 times. Wow. I said, man, it's a pretty cool boss. But yeah, and then unfortunately, he didn't crash the truck.
Good.
But there was quite a few times I thought we were tipping that truck. So because he likes speed, and I was like, this is not the vehicle to be driving, a ring crew truck, But it had the old WWF logo on it, World Wrestling Federation on it, and yeah. So
wow. I've heard that. Joe Briscoe was just on the show the other day, and he was talking about Vince's love of speed. I didn't think he'd take it into an 18-wheeler or something, but that's
no, love of speed is right. Yeah, like there's just days that we had to drive Vince certain places. If you didn't drive fast, boy, you weren't going to drive him again. So
okay, cool.
He likes speed, so.
Now that you're no longer with WWE, obviously you're with AEW. Dude, Mike, when you popped up on AEW, It got a big reaction, man.
Yeah.
Were you prepared for that? Did you think that your appearance would get the attention that it got?
No, I really didn't, and I really, that's why I appreciate the fans that are so loyal for what I do in this business and respect for what I do. It was touching, I appreciate that too from all the fans and stuff. And it was awesome to get that response. And even doing the last pay-per-view match with a little bit of fans in there
Yeah.
gave me much love on that, much respect. I really do appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. And so, like, what brought about your move to AEW? How did this come together?
Well, I mean, right now it's not a done deal and full-time deal. So it's just right now it's a part-time deal, which is great for me right now. So, if it becomes a full-time deal, I love the vibe there. AEW is fantastic vibe with Cody Rhodes and Chris Jericho and a lot of guys, Jake Hager over there and stuff. And you got some good old school talent, and you got, FDR, and you got some young talent that is amazing over there. So
Yeah.
it was kind of weird. I felt green when I was walking there because I was like looking at all this talent going, it's good, some good green, feel green sitting around looking at all this talent
Yeah.
that's upcoming, because I've been watching the show on TNT, of course,
Yeah.
before I started. And I think they really got a good thing going on there with Tony Khan and Cody Rhodes and them guys. So
For sure. And so, like, for you, man, 35 years in the same locker room, like, what is it like for you to be in a different locker room? Like, how different was the AEW environment as opposed to what you were used to?
yeah, it was very different because it just wasn't the company I had worked for. It was very different, but they treated me with a lot of respect, a lot of love and much respect and everything. And actually I was, the ex Jack Swagger, Jake Hager, I had a locker room with him. So it was like good old times. So, 'cause I used to travel with him a lot.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that. You guys,
Yeah.
yeah, he's an interesting cat.
Yeah, he's cool, man.
He'll kick your ass.
Oh, he sure will. He sure will. On a suit level. Got my ass kicked many times in a hotel room with him with too many drinks.
Okay. Again, adfreeshows.com, I guess. But like with AEW, I'm interested. So like how differently are referees produced in AEW than WWE? Is it similar or is it very different?
Um, it's very different. To be honest with you, it's very different. Similar in certain ways, but it's very different. Very different. There's only about 6 referees, I believe, over there right now.
Yeah.
WWE has 17 referees, but they go by the rules. They try to stick by the rules and stuff like that. And I hear some things and fans from feedback they wish they had a little more rules in
Yeah.
AEW with the referees. And I think the kids over there and the guys over there, referees at AEW, are doing a fine job. I think they probably get treated a little bit better at AEW than WWE referees.
Yeah, I mean, and you mentioned it's interesting because you mentioned earlier how referees aren't really allowed to have characters in WWE, whereas like over in AEW, Ref Aubrey like
That's true.
sells shirts and stuff. Like, how do you feel about
Amazed about that. I was like, man, you can sell shirts and sell 8x10s and do what you want, do a podcast, do that. I felt like I was in this bubble for so many years, But I mean, and I can't knock, I'm not going to knock Vince, Linda, Shane, and Stephanie. They gave me a hell of a run, 35 years, and a hell of a run with them. And I appreciate all they've done for me, but, from talking about from the referee standpoint, yeah, they let the referees have their own character. They let them do other shows, do other things, have their own shirts, video games, all that. I mean, which is like you're tied down at WWE. You couldn't get royalties off of video games because they wouldn't let us in the video games.
Yeah.
They let me in for a little while. And then once I was talking about, okay, where's my royalties? It took me right out of the game.
Wait, yeah, because you were in like I think it was like the SmackDown.
Yeah, I was in a SmackDown. Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. I did a little research here before I did.
Yeah, I was in a SmackDown video game and it's talking to Johnny about it. And I said, Johnny, I've been here for quite a while. It's not like I'm just a referee that came in here for 2 years or 3 years and want, and he's like, nah, we're just not doing the referees. And I said, wow, I said, that's, it's a little uncomfortable because, when you hear all the boys are making a lot of money off the royalties, which so be, because, I mean, I own my own name. So you got to think of guys that don't own their own name, what they go through if they leave the company, you know, so forth, and royalties and stuff like that. But, Yeah, I think the referees get really locked down at the WWE, which there's enough to go around everywhere. Especially with the WWE. Take care of the referees. If you have 60 talent, 15 refs, 17 refs, and take care of the refs too.
So with the referees, another kind of inside baseball thing is like, so are referees deals the same as superstars? Because we hear a lot about like these third party things people can do. Like, but I've also heard like maybe ring crew and refs are employees and not independent contractors. Like, how does it
There's no,
work?
yeah, they're not employees. They're independent subcontractors, most
Okay,
of them. So they're all like they'll get their stuff. The ring crew referees, like I was for 20 years plus. I was a ring crew and referee.
yeah,
And I got everything paid for, whether it was per diem, hotels, transportation, everything, gas, everything.
okay,
Um, there are a lot of referees still with WWE. They're just have to pay for their own hotels, cars, and food, and et cetera on the road, and health insurance and everything.
sure, yeah, okay.
Which AEW takes care of health insurance as well too. So I mean, takes care of a lot.
Yeah, for sure. And so wait, you mentioned casually earlier. Did you talk to the AEW refs? Are they going to be in the AEW video game? I hadn't heard that. I didn't know if that's what you were.
I don't know anything about that.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay, gotcha.
I just got there's a Nashton. There's a company reaching out to me for a video game. It should
Okay,
be coming out in 2021. So
okay,
hopefully that goes well, and hopefully that goes through. So
okay. Cool, man. Well, while I have you, you have been a part of some very awesome moments in pro wrestling. I wanted to pick one that I thought was really cool to see if I could get your take on. I'm a big 1-2-3 Kid fan. Sean
yeah,
Waltman, you were there when he became the 1-2-3 Kid and pinned Razor Ramon. What was it like working with those guys? What are your memories of that?
man, that was great. That the reaction on that in the Manhattan Center, where we used to set up the ring in there, and there was probably maybe I want to say maybe 500 to 1,000 people in that arena.
Okay.
But what a wrestling vibe that was, and then for that night, I remember, yeah, that was an amazing match. Being in perspective of some young kid coming in, which became X-Pac, and he was the 1-2-3 Kid. And I remember Razor came up to me all day long. He's like, because he loved how I counted like a lot of false count finishes, 1-2 kick out, like just not today. He would love how we'd be on the same page as almost counting 3 and him kicking out. And he says, "Man, I want you to make this the fastest count ever." He really didn't want to do the job, because I don't think they were that great of friends at that point yet. So
Oh.
they became good friends.
Oh, he was looking for a little protection there, something to complain about, maybe.
So
To say, this
he
was
was like,
awful.
"I want you to count as fast as you can." He goes, "It's your ass. If you don't count fast, you make me look stupid sitting there for a long 3." And that's when old school was old school, man. They cared about their character and cared about their, who they were doing a job to, who they were going to lose.
Sure. Wow, that's
They
funny.
cared a lot about that.
Never heard that. That's
But
hilarious.
the crowd was an uproar. It was just phenomenal time.
Um,
We'll
well,
be talking about that someday on ad-free shows and watch along, I think. So
yeah,
we'll talk about that match hopefully coming up someday.
that's why I tried to get in here now before it had all been mined to death.
Gotcha.
All right, last thing here. We Jimmy Corderas, friend of the show. One of the topics that came up this year that Jimmy and I have talked a little bit about here and there was the idea of like a WWE Hall of Fame wing for referees. Are you surprised that the referees aren't in the Hall of Fame? Do you think there should be some kind of referee inclusion?
Am I surprised? No, I'm not surprised they're not in the Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Would I like to see the referees enter the Hall of Fame? Yeah, totally. I mean, I was always pitching for Joey Morella for the longest time. He's done some incredible matches.
Yeah.
And before his time, he's done quite a few matches that I remember, off the head of my top 5 at least. So, including like Andre the Giant and Hulk Hogan, Bret the Hitman Hart, and Davey Boy in '92, Wembley.
Man.
So I think Joey should be inducted? Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of referees I think that should be inducted Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So,
Why is it that you think there's that disconnect where the referees don't get that kind of appreciation? Do you have an idea or a theory of the case or anything like that?
I don't know, but if I got inducted, I'd be like, hey, thank you very much. Appreciate everything. Goodbye. I ain't gonna give you a 30-minute speech and bore it out, but
Sure.
but I don't know. Maybe it's just not enough time in the Hall of Fame package.
Sure.
But I mean, hopefully, one day the referees do get thought of and inducted. I mean, there's some old school referees like Dick Worley and Dick Kroll, and the guys that done some incredible talent back in the day.
Yeah.
That worked with Bruno Sammartinos to Snukas to to a lot of people. So a lot of old time greats.
Yeah. All right. Well, Mike, thank you very much for the time. Again, every other Monday's mailbag over on adfreeshows.com. And again, this Saturday, you're going to be doing that live watch along for Hogan versus Rock. Mike, anything you want to plug, promote, put over here before we wrap up the interview today?
No, it's all right. I don't really need to put over the shirts, and hopefully just tune in though Saturday, adfreeshows.com and check out the show, the podcast. I think it's going to be really interesting. It's the first time that it's ever been done, and looking forward to do more of these podcasts, hopefully once a month, so tell a lot of stories to a lot of great matches. So just looking forward to Saturday, 10 a.m. Rock and Hogan match.